And now we're finally on.
Someone get a glove on ready.
Yeah, I'll tail it, bro. Solid G. I'm calling
Send
about
him
15 kegs though.
Take a look down. Oh, yeah, hold over your room.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, baby. Fabulous crab. Bring him in, Rosie. Hold him, boy. Oh, G. Woo! Hallelujah!
I wanted to do a podcast where I go around and fish with different people who are as passionate as me about top water and jigging and just lure fishing in general. Just go fish with them, see what they're about, and yeah, pretty much just go have a bit of a talk to them. I want to do the podcast and I want to make it so it's not so straightforward and directional in regards to questions. So asking what's their favourite fish, how do you target them, blah blah. I want to kind of just make it a bit more relaxed, have a bit of a yarn, and that's why I've decided to call this podcast series Spin a Yarn. The first cab off the rank is McCray.
What's going on, everyone?
So tell us a bit about yourself, Brian, how you got into this lure fishing, how you got into top water jigging. Give us a bit of a story.
I started watching a few boys that used to get dropped off on the islands here and chase GT a couple of years ago. I've predominantly done creek fishing my whole life, and up until mid last year I bought my first boat, started getting into it myself, and since then I've been to Vanuatu, some of the best top water and jigging spots in the world, and just had an absolute ball, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, right. The ones that got dropped off at the islands, obviously the Morning Tide boys.
Morning Tide boys, yeah, like Brooksy, Brooksy, Cab.
And you went to Vanuatu with Brooksy.
Yep.
And stuff.
Yep.
And you got your first doggy there too, didn't you?
Yeah, that was an insane trip, man. Starting things off, Brooksy, didn't know him from above, so starting things off first day, first morning, paddling out on a kayak 200 metres off where we were staying, and just jigging up a really rare trout and paddling in before we were even meant to go fishing, and it was sort of like a good little icebreaker, and it was a happy moment.
Yeah, sick. That's mad. So, I'll start with a good question probably to get everyone involved in it. What's your most memorable story? What's the most just whack fire out story that you kind of just think, if I told those people, they're just going to think I'm telling bullshit?
Bullshitting. So we got a few.
Yes,
we've got a few.
We've got time.
So probably fear of in my life. I went up to Bowen with one of my mates just recently, and I've started getting into a bit of spearfishing as well, and this is a good thing for young players. Always spear with a mate, because the unexpected can happen like that. So we were on the reef flats all day up in Bowen. Middle of the day come around, we've been casting all morning. I was like, right, I'm going to jump in, have a spear here. And so we were on the flats, actually up in 2 metres of water, 3 metres of water, just cruising through, drifting with the boat. Craig was in the boat, watching the boat, and I was just drifting along next to it, just sort of, every time I've seen a good trout or something to go after, I'd just hit down on the bottom, chill out, and just shot 3 or 4 trout.
Yeah.
And so Craig was really hellbound on getting a good G, so we went to the deep edge of the reef where it sort of drops off. It has a couple ledges, sort of goes 15, then 25, just into the abyss. And I was like, alright, the boat was holding in this pressure edge, so it wasn't drifting back onto the reef, it was just sitting there nice and still. So I was like, alright, I'll jump in here. And sure enough, first drive, I just went down and shot a really good bluey. And as I was pulling the shaft back, he slipped off the shaft, and I was sort of 12 metres of water. I was cruising back up to the top, putting the shaft back in my gun, and I noticed 2 big shadows just rock up below me doing circles where I just shot the fish. And they were about probably close to 10-foot bull sharks, 2 of them together. And
what 10-foot bullies?
Yeah, they had big snub nose on them, big wire across the head, man. I was just, as soon as I seen that, I half panicked, I was like, fuck. I'm
You only just started diving that experience?
Yeah, I've probably only been not even more than 10 times. And not many times by myself, so it was a fucking scary experience. Big sharks I've seen in the water. And so I started cruising back up, so I was putting the shafts in the gun as quick as I could so I could try and load it in case they come up to me. And was halfway up to the top, like just pumping up, and I put my head back down to sea, and sure enough, one of the bullies had come flat out up at me, and just jaws open, just flat out. Oh, it's a scary experience because they can move like that, like it's on you. And I got my head up to the water, and I screamed out shark to my mate in the boat, and he fucking dropped his rod and reversed the boat over to me, and he witnessed it coming up on the surface, do a big circle around me flat out, and then they sort of just pissed off when the boat motor started, thankfully. But
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
I was dragged into the boat, and I was like, oh.
That's why I like to stick to the boats and the rods, mate. That's not really my forte.
Yeah, it was a lesson in that, for sure. Like, stop spinning by yourself and
Always go with a mate.
go with a mate, and have someone watching your back. Like, take turns with bombing down, and like have someone watch your back. So in case the unexpected happens, you got sort of back up there.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
Just don't dive the reef edge in the middle of summer on a full moon.
Here's probably a good fishing question, probably a pretty generic one. But what's currently, probably changed over time, what's currently your favourite fish to target?
GT are definitely out there, man. Like the power, like I live in central Queensland, so the power they possess, they're pretty readily available if you know what you're doing, and they're destructive. Like they're just an absolute beast on top water, and
They're pretty ready available today, but
no hookups.
Hookups?
But gear failure, just pulling hooks, and we rose some good fish today, man.
we rode some good fish.
And for the weather conditions that we were out in, I'm pretty happy with that, what we got. So
Yeah, it wasn't like fully ideal. Well, you said you estuary fish most of your life.
yeah,
Do you prefer estuary fishing or do you prefer deep blue?
it's each their own, man. Like that's a really hard question because I enjoy them both so much. I've only just sort of in the last, like I barely went in a boat until I was 16, 17, my whole life. Like everything was on foot. So it's just sort of that new shiny thing. Whereas like in new toy, like so I've been flat out blue water, like I sold my tinny, I bought a big centre console, fiberglass boat, and sort of went away from creek fishing a bit. But I'm sort of like wheeling back, like when the weather's too shit to go out wide, I get back in the creeks. Like where I'm living now, I've got 5 or 6 estuary systems within 20 kilometres of me that are really good for jack especially, and that's probably my favourite species of fish to target in the estuary. So yeah.
By the way, for people that don't know, Lukey and Craig literally live 2 minutes from the boat ramp. Like it's just down the road, like so close, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
so they've got everything at their doorstep.
It's a good little piece of the world here, eh? Like not too far from town, but far enough that you don't have to deal with any road noise. You're just nice and quiet.
It's really nice out here where they live. It's that good. I like it. It's like a permanent holiday out here. Like you just get that real holiday feel.
Yeah, that's right.
And the blocks are huge around here. Like next door neighbour right now has got a fly cranking too, and they're having beers. So we thought we'd join them. Hey, but where's it all started for you? Like, what was the first memory that kind of you remember that you just go, yeah, that's what got me into fishing?
Yeah, so my parents both love fishing. Like mum took me down when I was like 2 years old, pumped yabbies for me, gave me a rod, put a rod in my hand, and we used to catch whiting and flatties. And I got a bit older. I think I was like 4 or 5 years old. We went and chased flatties and stuff, and I foul hooked like a 40 centimetre flathead for the first one I ever caught.
Sick.
So through the side, and I was that ecstatic. Like that's.
What'd you foul hook it?
Yeah. Through the side, man, just dragging because it's a little deep diver, just drag along the bottom, just got him. Yeah, that's what that toe was for. It was just like that's the sort of first fish that got me into chasing those little flatty.
It's a flatty.
It's a flatty, man.
Oh, I love it.
But that's sort of where I started off, and I've had the opportunity where I grew up to have really good freshwater fishing. So like northern sunny coast, like the area of Gympie, is where I grew up. So I had really good creek in the salt and in the fresh. So chasing bass, sooties, toga, yellow belly, Mary River cod. Not that you meant to target them.
So it was your very first fish you got ever on a lure?
A flathead.
And on a lure?
Yeah. Oh no, I caught like whiting and stuff prior to that, just on bait and stuff.
Oh, okay, but the flatty's what got you hooked?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That was sort of the wheeler dealer there. But
the turning point.
Yeah. So like nearly every day after school, me and my mate would just cruise out of town. We'd either go drop 10 cans out of mate's place and fish all night in the marina and like just run around the little pontoons in 10 Can Bay and just chase mangrove jack and do all that sort of stuff. And then we'd, like other weekends, we'd go west and go up into all the freshwater systems, chase bass like around Barumba Dam and Tiger, and just did that for years. And I ended up moving to Malanda when I was in year 8, chasing barra with my stepdad at Lake Tinaroo like nearly every afternoon after school. And I used to sit next to him with like the majority of the time fish liveys on floats. I'd go down and put liveys on floats and flick lures and stuff, and I used to catch sooties while I was waiting for the barra rod to go off. It never went off when I was there, but he ended up catching like metre 25 and like it just ridiculous. Nearly every time we went he'd get a metre in it. Just my float would be 10 metres away from his and never go off. But that's just the luck of the draw, eh? And,
he put yours over there on purpose.
Yeah, he told me where to put mine, that's for sure. But that's just the luck of the draw you get. But I didn't end up catching my first barra until I was like 15. And I did it in Bundaberg in a weir. So it was a pretty good experience, and that was on a Xeric prawn. And then next weekend I went fishing in Tin Can Bay and caught a barra in Tin Can Bay, like using a little jackal squirrel. So that was good fun.
A little plug there for jackal.
Yeah. Send me some free shit. No, I've chased barra that much. I've caught plenty of barra there and still just not nudged the meter yet. So
Yeah, haven't you made a salty yet?
Haven't made a freshie or salty. Sort of the one like for ages I'd fishing for mangrove jack, just that hooked on hellbent on getting one, and it just never happened. And as soon as it happened, like the first night I caught one, I caught another one the next drop, and I ended up getting 5 that night.
Yeah, right.
So, and then it's just flowed on from there, and like it's just when you get that little voodoo, once you get over that, I've just had a ball. So.
And a lot of people say that if they had one fish to chase the rest of their life, it'd be barramundi.
Yeah.
For me personally, I couldn't just chase one fish.
Yeah.
I'm a variety man. What about you? Like,
Yeah, I'm similar. Like I really want to get that meatery one day.
Oh, for sure.
Like that's a goal. But personally, I love chasing jack in the creeks. And when you're fishing for jack, you're always going to catch cod and flatties and bream and like all sorts of barra. We definitely proved that the other day. We ended up getting like 30 odd extra cod to 2 jack and a flatty. So, and all sizable cod, like above legal. So
Yeah, it was good.
it's good fun.
And here's a cracker. Oh, so what were you going to say?
Like with jack fishing, you got to be in the back of the snag to catch them. Like it's fair enough sitting there on with your freaking hunky-dory sounder, sitting in a nice little deep hole, just marking the fish on your screen like barra and threadies. But to put the satisfaction you get from putting a good cast in, bouncing it up into the back of the mangroves and seeing a jack bite on the surface instantly, like it's a good feeling.
We got a good visual. I was actually going to put it in the podcast if I got it, but someone knocked my GoPro out of my hands today.
Yeah, we had a bit of a mishap when we were releasing the golden trevally we got today, and GoPros don't swim very well. We found out.
Not in 20 metres of water. They don't.
No.
So that's
I can dive pretty well, but not that well.
Yeah, that one sunk pretty quick. I think it was raining. We had jumpers on, and Craig knocked it out of my hand, and we just looked at each other, looked at the water, and went,
uh-oh.
That's gone.
Yeah.
I would have naturally just jumped in straight after it, but I was going. It was too cold. I had about 2 jumpers on and a shirt, so I would have probably just sunk anyway. For young people, even adults, that are really keen on their fishing, kind of want to take it to the next level and really get into like top water and jigging, what is some advice that you have for them?
So advice would be, obviously you have platforms of social media like YouTube, Instagram, where you can view people that are successful in fishing and sort of learning off a bit of them, like that's sort of your guidance of where you start.
Yeah.
So you understand like what they're looking for, like what sort of environment the fish are going to be in that they're targeting, and sort of following those lines where if you start on a sort of you might know, and base your stuff off that, and then you just got to keep putting the time in, and you'll get where you want to be if you're persistent and passionate about the sport. So.
And that's all it really comes down to, is time on the water.
Yeah.
Something I've really learned is that you can watch and study as much as you want.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna get good at it until you go
Go
by
out
yourself
and practice.
and actually practice by yourself. And people can like go take you out, show you, and tell you, but you're not actually gonna understand until you like get it down pat by yourself.
Yeah,
that's how I feel like I learned the best doing that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
is there any other advice that you have for these guys in regard to like gear? Do they need to start out with the best gear or that kind of stuff?
So I still don't even have the best gear. Like a nice mid-range, sort of like you don't want stuff that's gonna break on you. You want like suss out your reviews on your gear. Like get on the internet machine and have a look. You don't honestly need the best gear to do it. So my first GT rod was a GT Special T-curve Shimano broomstick, but it done the job. Like I had a Saltus 6.5.
That was my first popping reel actually.
Yeah.
A Saltus.
I had that
so heavy.
limited edition, like the one that looks similar to the Saltega. That's what I was going for.
Yeah. I want it to look the goods, but I just don't want to pay for the goods right now.
That's exactly what it was. And like that done the job. And when I was like just prior to going to Vanuatu, I sort of like I need a bit of better gear. So I got a Saltega Dogfight and got some mass rods, and they've done the goods. So like it's all mid-range sort of stuff apart from the rear. Like that's obviously Stella Saltega. They're the top of the line, but they're strong, they're reliable.
Yeah.
And even like being the best reels, they still didn't withstand what we put them through in Vanuatu. Like they have to go straight for a service after it. Like if you look after your stuff, it's gonna last, regardless of what the price.
But like as he just said, when you're going over Vanuatu and a few other places in the world where you're up against probably the biggest
angriest fish in the ocean,
even then the best gear can not get the job done sometimes, and there's just nothing you can do about it. It just completely
burn your drag washers to pieces, and one fish will do that to you.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen any of Lukey's videos, or I think it's even on Brooksy's videos, where Lukey hooks up to a doggy and he gets almost pulled out of the boat. It's probably about 75 kilos bringing wet.
Yeah, 70.
70 kilos.
I'll be happy with 70.
Lukey's buckled up in the corner, and I think there's Jake Riley and Brooksy. One's hanging on to Luke and the other one's hanging on to him, and it's like a train of people hanging on to stop him getting pulled out of the boat.
That was it. Like our skipper even said, he's like, that was a real dog. That was...
Tell them the story. They've got to hear the story. I haven't seen this video.
First few days in Vanuatu were pretty slow. They didn't amount to much. We had a few good hookups and like a couple little doggies, but on the final day, the weather came good, and we all like, right, we'll put in the extra fuel money. So if you want to travel further than their normal range, you pay a bit extra fuel money for them. Like obviously you need to do that. It's a big boat, chews a lot of fuel, 1,200 litre fuel tank. Like they're not just going to take you further for free. But people got to understand that when they go on there. And we went all like to the furthest island they go to, and there's a tiny little island, probably 80-90 metres all the way around it. And there's just one corner that was the biggest pressure edge you'll ever see. Like it's just copping that much current coming through there.
Just smell like fish.
Oh, you could taste the fish in the air, that's for sure. But first drop, just hook up after like all of us, everyone on the boat hooked up and just got smoked or sharked, and then just for a solid 2 hours just getting pumped by sharks or getting a couple little doggies up, and then it was all the doggies were too big to even think about stopping. So we were like, righto, we got flying fish there, so at night we'd go out and we'd like use a spotlight on the water, and we'd just cruise around in about 80 metres of water in all the nice shallow calm bays.
80 metres of water in the shallow.
That's shallow in Vanuatu, man. Like it is so deep. It's regardless of like ridiculous. As soon as you cruise out from the islands, the sounder bottoms out at 1,000 metres, and it just doesn't read anything. All you're looking for is a little line that might be a marlin, just in the abyss.
Yeah, right.
So it's really deep there. But yeah, we cruise around at night with a big spotty, catch the flying fish with a net, and that'll be our bait for the next day. So we were like, righto, we're going to put a flying fish on the downrigger and put you in stand-up marlin gear. And I was like, right, I'm going to get
stand-up marlin gear.
I'm going to get plucked out of the boat here. Nearly happened. And within, as soon as we come around, like we had the downrigger in for about a minute, as soon as you come around into that pressure edge, it just lit up. And it was a big overhead reel. I don't even know what the name is. I don't get into your big blue fishing like that. So
Yeah, nah, neither am I.
It just had a lot of drag, and they told me to wind it right up, so I just wound it right up and nearly into the back of the boat. I just instantly buckled in the gunnel in the corner. Brooksy held me, and we had 40 metres of hot shot leader, and we got 10 metres back, and it just scuffed up from reef. And we had the down rig at 20 metres down. Within 3 seconds, it had been put 40 metres through the reef, like just crazy fish just going straight for the reef. And it was probably 60, 70 kilo estimated. That's what our skipper was saying. He's caught a lot of doggies.
And that's what they do.
The power of it, man. Like you GT fight hard, but they're nothing on a doggy, man. Like a 2 kilo doggy will fight as hard as a 15 kilo G.
People that don't know that, doggies like will literally kill themselves and tear themselves to pieces, putting them through the reef when they're hooked up to try and get off.
So what the guy was telling us is, if they get a parasite or something on their face that hurts them, they'll swim flat out at the reef to try and bash it off. So getting a hook in the mouth is obviously a similar feeling to them. Alright, so enough about me. I want to know a few things about Jackson's fishing career and where he sort of started.
He spun it around.
Yeah. Put the
Nice, good questions here.
The old turntable here, mate.
Alright, you'll go.
Right, so where did it all start for you? What got you into it?
When I was 13, my mate Johnny, his dad actually taught him to fish, and he'd grown up fishing. And my dad he'd actually worked on commercial fishing boats, but never really took me fishing. Yeah. And he took me to the Hornybrook Bridge. So if anyone's from Brisbane, you might know where the Hornybrook Bridge is. And it's like probably about a 7 metre height difference from the bridge to the actual water. Yeah. And he took me to that just with bait and pillies. Marty Bats will love that. I was using pillies, and I hooked a flatty, and it was a really, well, for me at the time, it was like a good sized flatty. It's like it probably was like 45 centimetres or something like that. Yeah. So not a big one, but to me as a kid, I was like, that's freaking sick. And I had to pull it up like 7 metres in the air while it's like flopping around on the hook, and still managed to stay on. And that was like my first fish that I ever caught. And when I stopped partying so much, I was like, I want to start doing more with my weekends and stuff, and started getting right back into fishing. And then I started really getting seriously into fishing. Yeah, so obviously we know about your first fleet business, and you've sort of talked to me a bit about where you're heading with that, and like tell everyone about what your goals are, and get an understanding of like why you're passionate about. Put me on the spot here. I was going to be asking you the questions, bro. All right. I just saw what a few people were doing in the industry, and I was at uni. I've been at uni for 4 years, or 4 and a bit years, and I kind of wanted to coach in the NRL once I retired. And I was almost at the end of uni, and I started getting serious into fishing. I was like, I'm just gonna. I saw a few people making money off like doing something that I loved within the industry, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I could give that a go. And I started just making some merchandise, and it started off with element fishing. Yeah. And I didn't have a trademark or anything like that, and it just like really took my whole focus away from uni, and I was pretty much just doing whatever I could to pass at uni, like putting in minimal effort, just passing and concentrating all on fishing and on the business. And I ended up getting an investor, and we went to a trademark lawyer and stuff to get it all trademarked, and he's like, I suggest you change the name from Element Fishing. I was like, why? And I was just like, no, all you're doing is clothes at the moment, and there's already a brand called Element. Yeah. Just you're not in trouble, but just to save. It doesn't seem right. Yeah, just to save time, just change it. So I changed it to First Fleet. Kind of thought what was more Aussie than that. They came on boats. Yeah. We love going out in our boats, mate, and we're fishermen. So. Yeah. Oh, and it actually similar, kind of looked like my logo because of the F and the E, and I changed it to just triple F. So that's pretty much how that started. And I kind of just want to make really, really quality gear. I'm always a person that's a bit of a quite shallow when it comes to like using the best stuff. Like all the gear, no idea. Typical. That's typical of me. Yeah. But I always like to use the best gear, and I was just like, well, what happens if I could make the best gear and sell it at a reasonable price, kind of thing. So that's what I'm trying to do. I want to see people using all my gear and doing the stuff that I love to do, and it makes you proud. Oh, mate, especially the amount of effort you put into it to get it there. So Yeah.
I know exactly where you come from. Like I do a lot of travelling for work, like pretty much 2 hours to and from work every day. And I've watched a lot of YouTube, and I want to get into film, and I sort of want to eventually end up in that sort of area where I'm thinking about doing my own thing or like make my own videos one day. And you just sit there driving, you ended up just lost in thought, just thinking about all these ideas, and it consumes you, and it's a good thing. So.
That little last part you just said there, it's you think and it consumes you. It's literally my life. If I had cameras on me when I was alone, you'd think I've got some serious issues. Like the amount I talk to myself and the amount of shit I dribble, it's crazy. But yeah, well, anyways, that's what I kind of want to do with First Fleet. So just make really, really quality gear, and I pretty much just want to live a lifestyle where I can pretty much travel anywhere in the world and go fishing
and do what you love. So
I don't want to go to work, a 9-to-5 job, and have someone tell me what to.
You don't want to just slave away. You want to be able to do something you love. Like you only get one shot. It's good to hear that, and we'll back you. Like I'm happy to back you behind that and help you out. And you're the same. Like we like-minded blokes, man. It's been good fishing with you the last few days. And
yeah, man, I've had good fun.
Yeah, it's been enjoyable. The weather's not been our friend, but
you can't have it all, man.
We're getting close. So we got one day left, so
let's hopefully we can smash it tomorrow, eh?
Where we're going tomorrow, I've had more experience with because I lived in McCray, like in town, and fished out of the harbour, and had more experience with the areas we're going tomorrow. So the first time I went there, I found the spots where the G's were hanging out, and sure enough, going back there today, they were there. Like, just got to figure them out. They were there, but they were sort of being finicky. So I'll work on them, and we'll understand them more in the future. But we definitely rose a few good fish today, and you hooking up and having a hook snap on you, that's pretty unlucky. But
yeah, I'm still filthy on that. I'm real filthy on that.
Yeah, at least you leaded on, didn't pull this time.
Alright, we're just gonna wrap this up here before you start getting any rags on me any harder. But we've got 2 days down, 1 day to go. I'm sure anyone that follows me on social media will see how the end result goes. Hopefully we can have a good one tomorrow. But Luke McCray, everyone, thanks for having a bit of a chat for us, bro.
Too easy, man.
Legendary.
Blooper, man. Literally a blooper. Bloop.
Yeah, we're on again here. Smoke goes over.
I wasn't even questioning that. One's gone blind.
Don't get me.